السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
وعليكم السلام دكتور.
حياك الله يا شيخ عبد اللطيف.
الله يحييك.
اليوم أنا في الجامعة، والواي فاي في الجامعة يعني نوعا ما قوي، فدعني أعمل شيرين للسلايدات، ربما ما تحتاجون إلى العرض من عندكم.
طيب الآن تكون عندك الصلاحية. بارك الله.
إن شاء الله. بارك الله فيكم. إذا نستغل الوقت ونبدأ بإذن الله تعالى. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا وحبيبنا محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اليوم 15 من شهر صفر 1442. نواصل درسنا في هذا المشروع المبارك بإذن الله تعالى، وقبله نتقدم بتعازينا للأمير المتوفى، نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يغفر له ويرحمه ويسكنه فسيح جنانه، وأن يجمعنا وإياه في الفردوس الأعلى، إنه بكل جميل كفيل، وأن يبارك للأمير الجديد وأن يوفقه ويسدده ويبارك في خطاه. Inshallah, in continuation with that which we have begun before, I don't know what session is this, but one of the sessions. Inshallah, today I will be dealing with very simple concepts, which is about Tawfiqat. As you can see from the slides, the first thing we are going to be talking about today, inshallah, is about Tawfiq wa Tasjid. The second thing is about Ta'weed wa Daman. Then we move to Al-Hawala wal Kafala wal Daman. Then we move to Al-Hawala wal Ibra. Then Al-Rahan wal Daman. Then Al-Takfil. Then Daman al-Itlafi. Then Al-I'dam wal-Isar wal-Iflas. So the first one is the Tawfiq. Tawfiq is nothing but documentation. So when you hear the word Tawfiq, we are referring to documentation. To document something, to put it in a record. So that's Tawfiq. It says هنا هو التقييد على الوجه الذي يحصل به الأمان. When you are a hunter, for instance, and you got something, you got a prey, you're supposed to tie it, to avoid it from running away from you. And or else whenever you catch something, if you are to let it go, then before you realize all the prey you got before, they will be running away from you. So what are you going to do? You tie it. So when you are tied, you are putting it in a state of peace so that it will not run away from you. So when we talk about Tawfiq, and we're referring to transactions, we're talking about that which you are doing in order to document what is going on between you and the other party, the second party, so that things could be reported properly. In the future, if somebody wants to create a doubt or create a problem, we refer back to the document which we had before. You get it? So التوثيق is nothing other than التقييد على الوجه الذي يحصل به الأمان. To document something, to record something, to record something. In a way, you put it in a state of peace. What do I mean by that? I mean, you will be in a state of aman. You don't have a doubt. You don't have the fear that it is going to be taken away from you. ومنه توثيق الحقوق والعقود. From that, we got the statement of the scholars. From time to time, you hear them saying توثيق الحقوق والعقود. You have a right. If you don't write it down, a day will come, somebody will claim that right. A day will come, somebody might claim that right. So So when you don't want that right to be claimed by somebody who is not deserving that right, you write it down. This is my right, and this is so and so and so and so, right? So that in the future, the people who will remain after you will remember that this is what is supposed to be given to this, and this is what is supposed to be given to that. And the same thing, is said concerning the contracts. When you have a contract, I buy this from you 30 dinar, for instance, and you deny. You claim that I bought it from you 50 dinar. So to avoid this conflict that might exist in the future, you have to write it down. Whatever is agreed upon between me and you, we write it down. So the process of writing the contract, we call it توثيق. أي تقييدها بتدوينها أو الإشهاد عليها. So sometimes even when we write the document, we have to bring witnesses. That's the meaning of al-ishhad عليها. So we bring the witnesses to what? Witness the moment, because I can just go and sit in my room and then write whatever I want. So that's why sometimes, to avoid this manipulation of the trust or forging a document, we need the witnesses. So this is al-ishhadu alayha. You are bringing people to witness the event so that in the future, if there is a conflict, they might go to the court and give their testimony for one of the two contracting parties or against. أو أخذ الرهن أو غير ذلك. Or sometimes even if there are witnesses. So sometimes the person who is given that thing is not happy yet. The person who is given the thing is not happy yet. So what happened is, what I mean by is not happy, he still doesn't trust the person who is taking his right. So I'm going to give somebody money, although there are witnesses to witness the event, but I still have doubt. When that doubt exists, then I can request for the rahn. We call it collateral mortgage. You ask somebody to give you something to keep it with you as a security, to protect his right. So this is also part of the Tawfiq. So these are عقود التوثيقات, they call them عقود التوثيقات, contract that are based on the Tawfiq. Actually, Tawfiq is more about security. You're providing security for that which you're doing. You're providing security for that which you're doing. Boy, leave that thing. So that's the first thing. التوثيق والتسجيل. أما التسجيل فهو الكتابة في السجل وهو كتاب القاضي ونحوه من السجلات الرسمية. التسجيل, what is تسجيل? تسجيل is more specific, is part of the Tawfiq. So one of the issues that are involved, or method of Tawfiq is what? Is tasjeel. Tasjeel is the writing, the documentation that you have in the record of the court or whatever institution you are dealing with. So when you have the writings, the documentation, you are doing. This documentation you're doing, we call it what? We call it التسجيل. قال هو الكتابة في السجل وهو كتاب القاضي ونحوه من السجلات الرسمية. So any official documentation that you have it, that's التسجيل. And I guess this, especially for those people who speak Arabic, this is very famous. Famous thing. So to put something in the record, official record. So even what you do in this program that we're doing, the first thing you did is the tasjeel. The first thing you do before you join is tasjeel. That's the official registration you are making. So tasjeel, this is the registration. So the official registration you are doing to join a project. قال في التسجيلات نوع من التوثيق. So as I said, the word tasjeel is more specific than tawfiq. Tawfiq is general. Tasjeel is more specific. Tawfiq is general. It includes tasjeel and other method of tawfiq also. قال في التسجيلات نوع من التوثيق والتوثيق أعم ويشمل جميع أوجه الحقوق وما يعد بنية عليها. So he says التسجيل نوع من التوثيق. التسجيل is part of the توثيق, is a type of توثيق. So in this case, the tawfiq is more general than the tasjeel. So this Tawfiq includes all forms of methods that you use in to reach the state of aman, peace, you know, to secure a right, to secure something. Any form, any method you are doing is part of the Tawfiq. You might tasjil, you might go for rahan, you might go for ishhad, you might go for so many things, you know. So many things, you know, you can do to make sure that your right is guaranteed and it's not neglected by anyone. So that's the difference between at-tasjil and at-tawfiq. The next term we're going to be dealing with is at-ta'weed wad-daman. At-ta'weed wad-daman. What is ta'weed? التعويض في الاصطلاح هو دفع بدل مالي بسبب إلحاق الضرر بالغير. I harmed somebody, unfortunately. When I harmed this person, and this person, because of my action, you know, because of my attitude, he lost something. So usually what do? I compensate him. I compensate him. That compensation that I'm giving him because I caused him a loss. So because I caused him loss, you know, he lost because of me. That loss that I was the cause, you know, when I pay him, we call that payment compensation, at-ta'weed. So here the word at-ta'weed means there is a harm that somebody attributed to another person, and now you are replacing that harm with benefit. With benefit. So I harmed him, I have to pay for that. I have to replace him, you know. He encountered a great loss because of my attitude. I should pay him something to replace that bad attitude or that loss that he encountered because of my behavior. So that's at-ta'weed. So you hear the word at-ta'weed, this is what it means. Amma daman, the second word we have in the slides here is the daman. Amma daman, فهو الالتزام بحق ثابت في ذمة الغير. That's the daman. الالتزام بحق ثابت في ذمة الغير. Daman, actually, if you're going to go to the shortest way of defining it is to define it as a guarantee. So that's why عقود الضمان, عقد الضمان, this is the act of the guarantee. الضامن أو الضمين, الضامن أو الكفيل as a guarantor. Somebody who guarantees something. So what does that mean? That means I am agreeing, you know, to attach the responsibility of somebody to my shoulder. Okay, that's الضمان. That's why I said الالتزام بحق ثابت في ذمة الغير. You know, there is a right on the shoulder of somebody, liability that somebody is supposed to be responsible. But then I give my undertaking that I'm going to be responsible in case there is a failure from this person in paying the debt. I borrow money from somebody, and that person doesn't trust me that much. So he will ask me to look for a kafil, you know, somebody who will be acting as a dhamin. In case in the future I might not be able to settle the debt, that person will be responsible. So that person who is guaranteeing the right of that the creditor, we call him a dhamin. Okay? Because now what is he doing? He is agreeing to transfer the responsibility of that person to his shoulder in case of my failure to settle that restitution or that liability. So this is the meaning of الالتزام بحق ثابت في ذمة الغير. The idea, so whenever I agree to be responsible, you know, to take the liability of somebody, and move it to my shoulder, I agree with that. In case that person fails to settle that liability, this is what we call a dhaman. Okay, a dhaman is to agree, you know, to agree to handle that responsibility, to take that responsibility, to be responsible in the future in case the person that you are the guarantee fail to settle the right. قال فالضمان أعم من التعويض. So in this case, dhaman is more general than the ta'weed. ضمان is more general than the تعويض لأنه يشمل ضمان الأموال والحقوق كما في كفالة الأشخاص، وأما التعويض فإنه متعلق بالحقوق المالية. So ضمان is more general than the تعويض because ضمان involves and includes issues and matters of wealth and matters of rights, as in the kafala, in the guarantee, the contract of kafala, of what? Of al-ashkhas, because kafala is divided into two types, kafalat al-ashkhas and the kafalat al-huquq. Kafalat al-ashkhas, usually this one happens in the court cases, where the person is released by the court based on a bail. So they let him go out, based on a bail. But usually they will bring somebody to guarantee he's coming back. Usually in the lawsuit, they bring somebody, they need somebody to guarantee him coming back. So in this case, the job of that kafil or the dhamin, the job of this one is to bring him back. In case this person died, I'm talking about the makful, right? The makful, in case he died, then khalas, the contract of dhaman is gone. Why is that? Because the subject matter is gone. Because he cannot tell him, please don't die, because this is not in his hand. He cannot stop him from dying. But when that person is missing, he did not die, but he's missing, this person is responsible. You get the idea? So kafala works in the huquq, at-ta'weed works in dhaman works in the huquq, and it works also in the ashkhas, not just in the huquq, in the rights, in ashkhas also it works. Contrary to at-ta'weed, usually at-ta'weed muta'alliqun bil-huquq al-maliyya. When it comes to compensation, then we are usually dealing with the financial matters. Okay, when we talk about compensation, we are usually dealing with the financial matters. Okay, when we come to the compensation, even if that person runs away, when it comes to dhaman, you're not doing the dhaman of that person, you're doing the dhaman of the financial negative consequences that result based on his is missing. You get the idea? So at-ta'weed means compensation, ad-dhaman means guarantee, to guarantee, to have the assurance that you're going to be responsible in case the principal fails to do that, then you will be responsible. Okay, I guess it's very clear. So one of them is compensation. When you cause a person a loss, you have to compensate him. This is what we meant by ta'weed. And when it comes to dhaman, dhaman can be in the huquq. That means you lost somebody else's thing, you have to bring it back. And also, when somebody is missing, and if you're the one who is responsible, you have to bring that person. Until dhamin, that means you are the person who guarantees he's coming back, and as such, you have to make sure that he's back to the court. Okay, the next slide talks about al-hawala wal-kafala wal-dhaman. So these are al-kafala wal-dhaman. Basically, we discussed some part of them. But hawala, we did not talk about it at all. So what is hawala? Hawala is al-iltizamu بحق ثابت في ذمة الغير وهو معنى الكفالة في الديون أيضا. ففي الضمان والكفالة يضم الكفيل والضامن ذمته إلى ذمة من عليه الحق في الالتزام بوفاء الحق. وأما الحوالة فهي نقل دين من ذمة إلى آخر بحيث تبرأ الذمة الأولى منه. So that's the best definition of hawala, the third line I have mentioned just now. Al-hawala is نقل دين من ذمة إلى أخرى. This is when you transfer a loan, from a dhimma ila ukhra, from a shoulder, from a person to another person. Okay, that's a hawala. Okay, I owe, for instance, Sheikh Abdul Latif money. I owe him money. That means I borrowed money from him. Okay, I'm supposed to pay that money, but at the same time, Kareem min al-nas, somebody from the human beings, he also borrowed money from me. Okay? He borrowed money from me. So Abdul Latif, I borrowed 20,000 dinar from him. From Sheikh Abdul Latif, I took 20,000 dinar. And Kareem took from me 20,000 dinar also. So what do? Since, let's say, the maturity of the two debts are identical, that means the time I should pay Sheikh Abdul Latif is the same as the time Kareem is supposed to pay me the debt. So I can just tell Sheikh Abdul Latif, please take your right from my debtor, take your right from Abdul Karim. Instead of Abdul Karim bringing the money to me, and then I take the money to Abdul Latif, we don't do that. I just ask Sheikh Abdul Latif to collect his money from who? From Karim. So that's hawala. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, "Matlu al-ghani dhulmun, wa idha uhila aw utbi'a ahadukum ila mali'in faliyatba' aw faliyaqbal." The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, the procrastination of a rich debtor is oppression. I borrow money from you and I have the right and I have the ability to pay, but unfortunately I started doing mumatala. It means I don't pay on time. The Prophet ﷺ said, this is oppression. This is oppression and injustice. And whenever one of you is transferred to a rich debtor, he should accept the Prophet ﷺ. So this is the meaning of hawala. This is how it used to happen. And even nowadays, when you have the hawala taking place from the bank, because the bank, no matter how much you try to modify the status of the bank, it remains in the way it is. The bank is a borrower. He borrowed money from us to pay other people that he borrowed money from them. This is how they maintain the siyula in the bank. They have they borrow money from me. When I put my money, I deposited my money, the bank will borrow it. And then they will go and lend, and pay some other people that they also borrow money from them. This is how they maintain the system. If I don't give that money, then they have no money in the bank. Problem is going to take place unless if they will be able to print new money, which I don't think they do have discretion by the central bank to do that. So when I have my money, the bank is a borrower. He already borrowed the money. When I do the transfer from my account to another place, they call it hawala. It's hawala because I'm transferring the debt I have from the bank to another person who I owe money. So it's like I'm asking that money to collect that person to collect his right from the bank. So we are not here to discuss the rulings. What is it permissible, what is not permissible. But it is a very sensitive matter that we have to be very careful, because in some of these hawala there is a currency exchange, which Islam is very sensitive also concerning that matter. Otherwise, we'll be dealing with riba, not knowing that we're going through the riba. If you go to the fatwa given by the Majami al-Fiqhiyya, you will see that when you transfer the money, then you have to be very careful. Make sure that the currency exchange doesn't take place. And if it does take place, make sure that the transaction was done on the spot. For it to be legal, unless if you're in a state of necessity, there is no any other way out, then this situation, the hukmun khas. So that's the hawala. Okay, that's the hawala. So you can see in kafala and daman, what are we doing? In kafala, we are what do you call al-daman, al-iltizamu bi, and also the kafala, al-iltizamu bi haqqin thabitin fi dhimmat al-ghayr. Somebody is responsible to settle a right, but then I will come and interfere. I step inside. I told the person who is the owner of the right, I am responsible in case this person who is supposed to pay the debt fails. I will be the one who will pay the debt. So that's kafala, that's daman. Or kafala, somebody is in the court. There is a case in the court, and the case is supposed to be adjourned. The decision was adjourned. So what are they going to do? And that is a great expectation of the accused person to run. The judge and the court might need a kafil, somebody to guarantee the return of the person who is involved in the case. So that person who is acting as a guarantor, to bring him back, we call him kafil, and also we call him dhamin. So that's the reason why we said earlier that kafala deals with what? Ashkhas. Ashkhas means persons, and it also deals with rights. You get an idea? So kafala and daman, al-kafala to daman, if you look at them, both they share almost the same meaning, whereas hawala is nothing but the transfer of a debt to another, from a person to another person. Transfer of the debt from a person يعني نقل دين من ذمة إلى أخرى بحيث تبرأ الذمة الأولى. As I said, I borrow money from Sheikh Abdul Latif. So I am my ذمتي مشغولة, ذمتي مشغولة. I have a loan on my shoulder, as long as I do not pay him that loan. But at the same time, I have a person called Kareem. He also borrowed me the same. He also lent me. He also borrowed from me the same amount. You get the idea. So when I transfer the debt, to the shoulder of that person who borrowed money from me, so that Sheikh Abdul Latif will go and take his right from that person in the future, we call this the contract of hawala. The contract of hawala. There is no loan involved. It might be kafala, or wakala, also in some situations. قالوا أما في الضمان فهو مشاركة في الالتزام بالدين. When it comes to dhaman, so this is nothing but مشاركة في الالتزام بالدين. So I'm going to get involved to be their partner, in being responsible in paying the debt in the future, in case there is a failure from the principal debtor. We call him principal debtor. In case there is a failure from his side, then the kafir or the dhamin will be responsible to pay it. Okay, next slide is about al-hawala wal-ibra. So if you remember that we said hawala is نقل للحق من ذمة الأخرى. So you are transferring a right, transferring a loan, you're transferring an ayn, you're transferring something from a place to another place, from a shoulder to another shoulder, from a person to another person. Okay? You're transferring a right or ability from a place to another place, shoulder to another shoulder. قال أما الإبراء. So this is hawala. Hawala is the transfer of debt. Okay? To transfer debt. وأما الإبراء فهو إسقاط شخص حقا له في ذمة أخرى. وفي الإبراء إنهاء للمطالبة وسقوط للحق. وأما في الحوالة فيها مجرد نقل للمطالبة وشغل الذمة من شخص إلى آخر أو من جهة إلى أخرى. So what is hawala? Hawala is to transfer something to another. Okay. To transfer something to another place, from a place to another place. To transfer a debt from a person to another person. How about ibra? What is ibra? Ibra is the contract of release, giving a person relief. So that means you are canceling something. This is what ibra means. Ending the contract, ending something that is between you and a person. So إبراء is إسقاط شخص حقا له في ذمة أخرى. I owe you money. That means I borrow money from you. But then you decided to forgive that money. You told me, Ibrahim, that money that I borrowed from you is free. Forget it. What are you doing? You are doing the contract of Ibra. You are engaging in the contract of Ibra. The moment you tell me that money that you borrow from me is free, is forgiven, I forgive that money. This is what Ibra is all about. So it's a contract of what? Relief and release. You're releasing that person from his responsibility. So now he is not responsible, from being responsible. So now he is not responsible to pay you that debt. قال ففي الإبراء إنهاء للمطالبة. So what are you doing in the Ibra, in the contract of Ibra? You are ending, the demand and the claim. You claim something. You claim that you do have a right on his shoulder. But now when you're doing the Ibra, you are ending that right. You're terminating that right. You're finishing that right. وسقوط للحق, and you are canceling that right. So you are supposed to be, you do have a right to take the thing from him, but you're telling him, I don't need it anymore. I forgive you. You just take it. I forgive the right. You just take it. So this is what? This is Ibra. As for the hawala, فَفِيهَا مُجَرَّدُ النَّقْلِ لِلْمُطَالَبَةِ. As for the hawala, you are moving a claim from a person to another person. وَشُغْلُ الذِّمَّةِ مِنْ شَخْصٍ إِلَى آخَرٍ. And also you are making the shoulder busy from a person to another person. أو من جهة إلى أخرى, or from a direction to another direction. So that's the differences between hawala and al-ibra. So do remember that I said the hawala means transfer of debt. That's the meaning of hawala originally. To transfer something from a place to another place. from a person to another person. As for the ibra is to give a person relief or to release him from the responsibility that used to be on his shoulder. To cancel your right on the shoulder of somebody, this is ibra. Okay, so whenever you hear the word ibra, we are talking about ibra dhimma. So dhimma that is mashghula, that is busy carrying the responsibility of settling a debt. You are telling that person you don't need that money, so he doesn't need to pay it. Okay, the next is about ar-rahnu wad-daman. Ar-rahnu wad-daman. What is ar-rahn? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِن كُنْتُمْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ وَلَمْ تَجِدُوا كَاتِبًا فَرِهَانٌ مَقْبُوضَةٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you are on a journey and you couldn't find somebody who can write and document the loan that you are dealing with, dealing with the loan, and there is nobody to write down the loan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَرِهَانٌ مَقْبُوضَةٌ. Then you are allowed to go for the rahn. What is a rahn? رهن هو حبس مال وتوقيفه في مقابل حق يمكن استيفاؤه منه. الرهن is nothing other than detaining wealth, any wealth, money, whatever, currency, car, houses, animals. When you keep it in one place, you stop it from at-tadawul. That means the owner of that money cannot sell it, cannot donate it, cannot give it as a gift, and it cannot be inherited. So it is mahbus. It is standing in that place, in one place, wherever it is agreed upon by the two contracting parties. في مقابل حق. Why do we detain this right? Why do we detain this right? So a rahan is like detention of an object, a corpus. So why do we detain it? We are detaining it to secure a right. Okay, we're detaining it to secure a right. What does that mean? I borrowed money from you, but you don't trust me. So when you don't trust me, you can ask me to provide you something to keep it with you in case in the future I fail to settle the debt. Then you can sell that item which I gave you, of course, through the court. You cannot sell it to yourself, but you go to the court. The court has a right to sell it and get you your right back. If there is any balance, it should be given to the owner of that rahan. If there is no balance, but there is a deficiency, the deficit exists, whereby the value of the car and the money which the car is sold for, it is not sufficient, to settle the debt. In this case, I will still be responsible to settle the balance and the remaining. Either here or in the hereafter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might settle it on my behalf from his bounties. So I just want you to understand the rahan now. Rahan is a corpus, an object, a wealth that is detained. And why do we have the rahan? Because there is no trust between the debtor and the creditor. And the creditor is the one who is demanding, for that object to be given to him so that he can keep it with him. قَالَ يُمْكِنُ اسْتِيفَاءُ الْحَقِّ مِنْهُ. The one that is possible for us to extract our right from it. For instance, I borrow from you $20,000. 20,000 dinar. I borrow from you 20,000 dinar. And I give you the rahan. What is the rahan? My car. This car has to be more expensive more valuable than the debt. Otherwise, if I fail to settle the debt, where do you get your right then? This is what they meant by يمكن استيفاء الحق منه. You get the idea. If the car is less than 20,000, so if I fail, you cannot get your right fully back. So that will be a problem in the future. You get the idea. So the car should be either 20,000 dinar or the car should be 100,000 dinar. In a way, when I fail to settle the debt, then you will be able to get back your right, and get it from the court. Be the lighter. So this is the meaning of the rahan. Rahan is a collateral. Rahan is a mortgage. Rahan is the thing, the object you are giving to somebody whom you borrow money from, and this person is not trusting you, so you have to give him something in case you fail in the future to settle that debt. Then the person can sell the item to extract his right back from you. وأما الضمان فهو الالتزام بحق ثابت في ذمة الغير. الضمان, this one we already defined. ضمان already know it. ويشترك الرهن والضمان في أنهما من وسائل التوثيق. So both rahan and daman, they are both used to they are both used for what? For documentation. Documentation to make sure that we provide a full security for the right or the object, as in the way they will not be missing in the future. والفرق بينهما في ماهيتهما. فالضمان يكون بضم ذمة إلى أخرى بالالتزام بالحق، وأما الرهن فيتم بحبس مال توثيقا لما يعطى للراهن من حق حتى يتمكن أن يسترد المرتهن منه حقه. So the main difference between the two exists in the construction and the meaning of both of them. Okay, they both have different meaning and different methodology to be applied in dealing with each one of them. But at the same time, they are both referring to one root, which is Tawfiq. One objective, which is Tawfiq. What is the objective of Rahan? Tawfiq. What is the objective of Daman? Tawfiq. What is the purpose? Objective means purpose. What is the purpose of Rahan? Tawfiq. We're doing the Rahan to make sure that we provide enough security for the right. Why do we do the Daman? We are trying to provide enough security to make sure that the right or the person is protected. So both of them are referring to the same objective, although when it comes to the entity, each and every one of them has different meaning. Daman means I'm taking the responsibility to do something, pay on behalf of somebody when that person is not willing to pay it, or that person is missing, or that person is not able to settle the right. So the owner of the right has the guarantor next to him who can fulfill his right in the future. As for the Rahan also does the same thing. Instead of having a person, granting the Daman, but now I'm having an object that is granting the Daman. So it's like that object that I have given you is telling you, don't worry. If that person failed to settle the debt, I am still here for you. I can just sell myself and give you exactly your right and take the balance to the owner. I guess it is very clear, inshallah. So they share the same objective, although they're two different entities when it comes to the definition, but they are meeting in one place. The next one is also referring to the one that we have done before. This is just تصرفات الكلمة. التكفيل. التكفيل from the word كفيل, كفالة, كفيل. So when we say التكفيل is the action. Kafala is the name, contract of guarantee or contract of guarantee. So when you say التكفيل is the action itself. So what does the kafil does? He is doing the takfil. يكفل فلان. يكفله. So التكفيل هو التضمين. ومن القاضي أخذ الكفيل من الخصم. So what does takfil means? Takfil is the actions of kafala. That's the takfil. So that means you are taking the responsibility. The kafil is taking the responsibility of doing something, either to settle a right or to bring a person, especially when it comes to the court cases. You get it? Especially when it comes to the court cases. So when you have the qadi looking for the guarantor, looking for the kafil, what does the qadi do? The qadi means the judge. What does he do? He's doing the work takfil. So when we say takfil, means the actions of فعل الكفالة. So the next one is ضمان الإتلاف. Okay, this one also has been dealt with. ضمان الإتلاف هو الضمان المترتب على إتلاف المال. When I destroy your wealth, what do? I have already mentioned in the early part of this session. I said ضمان means to compensate somebody. When there is itlaf, itlaf means you cause a person a loss, you cause him a harm that engage in causing that person to lose some part of him or some part of his wealth. So what do? أضمنه. I pay for that. والإتلاف اصطلاحا هو إخراج الشيء عن أن يكون منتفعا به المنفعة المطلوبة منه عادة. So what does itlaf means? What does itlaf means? Itlaf, according to the statement of the scholars, is to take something out of the benefit, out of its nature, the beneficial nature. You know, the car is meant for what do you call? You ride it, you know, you drive it, you go to a place and benefit from it. If I hitch the car in a place where the car stopped moving, so I take it out of its function, out of its objective. So what does my action mean? My action means itlaf. So when they say itlaf, they're talking about what I'm doing. So the thing which I did that deactivate or defunction the car and makes it something that cannot move properly, we call it what? We call it dama. We call it itlaf. We call it itlaf. So this itlaf, if I want to fix this damage that I caused that thing, you know, I go for what? Dama. This is the meaning of dama itlaf. So when that is itlaf, it needs to be fixed. And how to fix it? Then I compensate that person whom I caused the problem. I have to compensate that person whom I caused that harm. قال ويكون ضمان الإتلاف بجنسه. So when I compensate a person, how do I compensate him? I compensate him with a similar, you know, something of that nature. I destroy his car. I don't go and look for a motorcycle and give it to him. I don't give him bicycle. I don't give him food. I give him another car. You know, فالمثلي بمثله. So if there is a similar car, I have to pay him similar thing, similar model, and similar also nature, color, and everything. I have to give him exactly the same thing I destroyed earlier. So whenever you find a mithli, I have to give him the same thing. I destroy his rice, and this rice is bought from, let's say, Thailand. You know, I have to look for a rice which is produced in Thailand that looks the same as the one as I destroyed, as the same as the one I destroyed. I have to pay him the same one. قال والقيمي بقيمته. And there are some other items which you cannot find something similar to them. In this case, then I go for the value. Things that you cannot find similarity for them, like a second-hand thing. It's not easy to find similar for a second-hand thing, something that was used by somebody. How can you find exactly something like this? It will not be easy. You can find second-hand for the new, you can find mithli for the new thing, but second-hand you find something similar to the second-hand. It's not easy. So what do we do in this case? In cases where we cannot find second-hand, we go for the qima, the value. Like a slave, when somebody destroys the slave of somebody, we go for the value. You destroy his animal, you go for the value. You go for the value. You don't go for the mithli, because you don't have similar to it. You cannot find a similar to that one exactly. Okay? ونقل القرافي الإجماع على أن الضمان يجب بحصول الإتلاف سواء بعلم أو بجهل عمدا أو خطأ. Imam al-Qarafi, one of the Maliki scholars, has narrated a consensus of the scholars that if somebody destroys the item that belongs to another person, he has to pay for that. Whether that destruction was caused out of ignorance, or the person was not ignorant, but he did it out of intentional, or he did it based on a mistake. Whatever the case might be, you might not be responsible in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not ask you for compensation. On the day of judgment, Allah will not write sin upon you because you don't know, or because you do it out of mistake. You know, you get an idea. But still, between you and human beings, if you are the cause, you have to pay him for that. That's why when you kill a person, you have to go for what? You have to go for what? For kafara, and you have to go for the diya also. Although this is a mistake, this is khata. You know, you never intend to kill him. The man just came and appeared, and you're driving a car, so you hit him by accident. In this case, you have to pay the diya, although it wasn't intentional, but you have to pay the diya. To get an idea. So when you destroy somebody else's property, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might forgive that because you're doing it out of a mistake, by accident. But at the same time, you have to know that between you and human beings, المعاملة مبنية على المشاحة. That's why they said حقوق الله مبنية على التسامح وحقوق الآدميين مبنية على الشح. That's why sometimes when you have the right of Allah and the right of human beings contradicting each other, you go and settle the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm sorry, you settle the right of human beings. Because the right of human beings is based on stinginess. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives. Okay, the last thing for today, inshallah, is about al-idam wal-isar wal-itlaf. Al-idam كون الشخص معدما أو معدما. When a person lost everything he has, that's mu'adam. Like the person who is killed also is mu'adam. But he lost everything he has, also mu'adam. Or mu'adim, somebody when he is the fa'il, he did some actions which he doesn't have anything. والمعدم هو الذي لا مال له. And the person, المعدم, is the person who doesn't have wealth at all. إلا ما يستر به بدنه, except that which he can use to cover his body, for instance. So that's the faqir, a poor person. That's idam, means poverty. So a poor person, who is that person? Is the person that doesn't have money, except the little that he can use for his necessity. والإعسار هو كون المرء في حالة لا يقدر فيها على الإنفاق. الإعسار is a person to be in a situation where he cannot, he doesn't have the ability to spend on himself or on his family. He might have something, but it is not that much. He might have something, but it's not that much. So he doesn't have the capacity to spend on himself or on his family. الإعدام أشد من الإعسار, because إعدام means somebody doesn't have anything, So in this case, if إعسار is you don't have enough, so that means إعدام is worse than إعسار. So these are two different words. Both are heading towards the same objective and meaning, but al-i'dam is ashad. This is just like the difference between al-miskin and faqir. You have the miskin, al-faqir is somebody who doesn't have anything. The poor person, he doesn't have anything. And you have the miskin is somebody who has, but it is not enough for him to spend on his family members as well as himself. أما المفلس, the last word is the muflis. Who is the muflis? هو من صار دينه أكبر من ماله. Al-muflis is anyone whose debt is greater than his wealth. The debt is greater than his wealth. This is muflis in terms of the dunya definition. But for those of you who are listening to us attentively, when you define muflis, when you define muflis, a bankrupt person, insolvent person, when you describe this person, you have to attach to the description the declaration of the court. Okay, the declaration of the court. Otherwise, almost everyone is going to be muflis, because the reason why I borrow money is simply because I don't have money. When I don't have money, I borrow money from others. So if we're going to say whoever borrowed money from others is called muflis, then everyone is muflis. Nobody is saying this. So the best interpretation and definition for a muflis is somebody who is declared by the courts as muflis. That's why I might borrow 20 million from you, and my friend borrow $10,000 from you, but he is muflis and I'm not. Why? Because when you report him to the court, and the court declared him as muflis, but it did not declare me as a muflis. You get an idea? Because it carries the consequences and negative effects also on that person who is declared as a muflis. He cannot buy, he cannot sell, he cannot give something, he cannot make a donation, he cannot so many things he cannot do, and his wealth are going to be distributed to who? To his creditors. The court is going to take almost everything he has, with the exception of the necessities, and sell them to settle the restitutions he owed others. So that's the muflis. وهو من صار دينه أكبر من ماله والمفلس قد يكون له مال لا يفي دينه. Like this muflis might be a person who has wealth, but unfortunately it's not sufficiently enough to pay the debt. just mentioning this iflas, I remember a statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I believe it is good to close the lecture with it, because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, usually what he does, he tried, whenever he talks about the dunya, he attached it to the akhirah, so that people will not be busy with the dunya. Nowadays, almost everyone is materialist, you know. Illa man rahima rabbuna. People become materialist. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not train the companions to live like this. He tried to attach things with the akhirah to remind them about the akhirah. That's why he says, what do you know about muflis amongst you? Who is the muflis among you? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Man ta'uddunahu muflis. Or ma ta'udduna al-iflasa fikum. They said, al-muflis man la dirham lahu wa la dinar. They said, Ya Rasulullah, al-muflis is somebody who doesn't have dirham and doesn't have dinar. Doesn't have anything, no money. This is a muflis. This is the common, common definition given to the word muflis. But the Prophet ﷺ wanted to divert their attention that there is iflas that is greater than what they are all about. Because the real iflas is the iflas that happens on the day of judgment. So the Prophet ﷺ said, al-muflis min ummati man yati. He said, the muflis amongst my ummah is somebody who will come on the day of judgment bil hasanat, he will come with so many, hasanat, kajibali tihama, like the cities of mountains of Tihama. He will come with so many good deeds. But unfortunately, shatama haza, wa daraba hada, wa qadhaf hada. He cursed this person, and he backbited this person, and he accused this person, and he harmed this person, and he abused this person. He does so many harms to others. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, فَيُؤْخَذُ مِنْ حَسَنَاتِهِ وَيُعْطَى هَذَا وَيُعْطَى هَذَا فَإِذَا فَنِتْ حَسَنَاتُهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take from his righteous deed and give this one and give this one to pay the restitution he owes others. These are the spiritual restitutions. He said, حَتَّى إِذَا فَنِيَتْ حَسَنَاتُهُ, until the time when all of his deeds are over, they finish, and he doesn't have any hasana. Then if there are still people looking for their right, أُخِذَ مِنْ سَيِّئَاتِهِمْ فَطُرِحَتْ عَلَيْهِ ثُمَّ قُذِفَ فِي النَّارِ وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take from their sayyi'at. There is nothing free on the day of judgment. Allah will take from their evil deeds and cast on him, and then he will be going to hell. And therefore, brothers and sisters, we have to put this into our mind. These spiritual things, amal al-qulub, the spiritual things that we're dealing with, they might destroy us in this life before the hereafter. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man kanat lahu alayhi madlamatun min akhihi min malin aw irdin falyatahallalhu minhu al-yawm." Or kama qala Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you have any restitution or right that belongs to your brother that you have on your shoulder, he says, whether it is related to wealth or it is related to honor and dignity, he said you should settle the thing today, before a day comes where there is no dirham, there is no dinar. And I will close with this, my brothers and sisters. Wallahi, you don't know what exactly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take from your good deed to pay 1 ringgit that you borrow from somebody, which you did not pay you. You don't know how much 1 ringgit worth of your reward. The reward of many years could be taken to pay only 1 dinar. You don't know. So what does that mean? Be very careful when you take the right of others. Okay, so that's the real definition of a muflis given by the Prophet ﷺ. But when the spiritual approach in terms of defining the word al-iflas. When it comes to the technical definition given to it by the fuqaha, is the declaration of the court that this person is a muflis. Whoever is declared by the court to be muflis, this is the one that we call muflis. And this declaration usually comes when the liability of somebody is greater than his earnings. So he has a little, but he borrowed so many things from others. We call this person muflis. So just a quick reflection is a very important, these are very important terms. At-Tawfiq, what tasjid, very important. Nowadays, wherever you go, this documentation is needed. So whenever you hear the word Tawfiq, we're talking about documentation. Providing security for a right of a person. What tasjid? Tasjid is the registration, writing something to keep it secure. What ta'weed, what daman. And you have the next thing we talk about is ta'weed. Ta'weed is compensation, and daman is guarantor or guarantee. Okay, a damin is the guarantor, and daman is a guarantee. Hawala, this is the transfer of right or transfer of a person. Okay? Transfer of a right or transfer of a person. Transfer of a right means you're transferring the right or liability from a person to another person. This is hawala. Okay? Wal kafala, this is exactly like the action, like the daman. This is the action of the daman. When you are doing the daman, when you're dadamin, you are also a kafil, the guarantor. Okay. Wal hawalatu wal ibra. Hawala, we know what is that. Al ibra is to give somebody relief from the right that exists on his shoulder, which belongs to you. So simply to tell somebody, you don't need to pay me that rights, I forgive you. Okay? Well, rahnu is a collateral, mortgage, the object or whatever you're giving to another person in order to secure his right on your shoulder. And usually it happens when you borrow money from another person. When you borrow money from another person. So this rahan is the object or the corpus or the property that the creditor is asking you to provide him with, so that in the future, if you are not able to give him his right, he can sell this thing and extract his right from it. So that's the rahan. You get the idea? It has restrictions also Islamically that creditor is not allowed to benefit from that rahan at all. When the rahan happens, the creditor is not allowed to benefit from that rahan. He has to keep it. Even with the permission of the debtor, he cannot benefit from it. Even with the permission of the debtor, he's not allowed to benefit from it because of the legal maxim that says, كل قرض جر منفعة فهو ربا. Any benefit you generate because of the loan you have given somebody, this benefit is riba. So when I give you my car, you cannot use that car. You have to keep it. You can warm it up every morning. You have to keep it. If you benefit from it, you have to pay the compensation. Without compensation, even with my permission, this will be riba from your side, according to the opinion of the vast majority of the scholars. We talk also about daman and takfil. These are all referring back to the daman and kafala. And we talk about daman and itlaf. And the only thing you need to know here is the itlaf itself. What is itlaf? Itlaf is to destroy something, okay? To destroy something, to cause a damage, to cause a damage. So when we say daman al-itlaf, this is the liability of what do you call a damage. That means you are responsible to pay the damage. Daman al-itlaf means paying the damage, compensating somebody the damage you have caused them in their property. And the last thing we study is about poverty, which is al-idam wal-isar. This is being in a state of difficulty, incapable to settle your necessities. You have something, but it is not enough. That's why i'dam is more general than al-isar. And the last word is al-iflas or the muflis. That means al-iflas is bankruptcy. Muflis is bankrupt person. So bankruptcy or insolvency, this is what al-iflas is all about. Okay, so that's all for today. And I guess we have already forfeited our time. So I will, inshallah, stop here, hoping to see you in the next week if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wish. Barakallahu fikum. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.